My name is Delilah Warren. I'm 34, an architect by trade, but more than anything, I am a mother, fiercely protective, endlessly patient, and often exhausted. My son Oliver is 5, and he has a way of believing that the world revolves around tiny, perfect rules only he understands. Napkins must be folded a certain way. His toys must face north. And if a rule is broken, well, you quickly learn that consequences are swift and non-negotiable in Oliver's universe. I never imagined I'd be navigating the chaos of someone else's child while balancing my own, but life has a strange way of testing you. I met Stephen Garcia 5 years ago. Handsome, thoughtful, practical, everything I thought I wanted. At the time, he was quietly managing a small but thriving family business, and I, in my architect's world of blueprints and deadlines, thought our worlds were as different as night and day, yet somehow they collided. Stephen had a history, of course, an ex-girlfriend, Claire, whose presence lingered more like a shadow than a memory. She was polished, charming, and still somehow occupied spaces in Stephen's life, through family gatherings, subtle comments, and the occasional awkward text. I knew from the start that this wouldn't be simple, but I had Oliver, and I had a heart that refused to back down. At first, our blended family life felt like walking on a tightrope. I was determined to be the best stepmother I could be to Oliver. We attended school events together, cheered at his soccer games, and I stayed up late helping with science projects, even if they involved glitter and questionable glue experiments. I bought him sneakers that made him strut like a miniature celebrity, vacationed with him to sandy beaches I had to sand off my shoes for weeks afterward, and quietly celebrated his every small triumph as though it were my own. But even in those moments of joy, there was a subtle tension I could never ignore. Claire's influence was a faint but persistent undercurrent. Stephen's loyalty to her history, not to mention Oliver's own delicate attachment, meant that every interaction was laden with unspoken rules. I could see it in Oliver's eyes when he hesitated before speaking to me about certain things. I could feel it in Stephen's posture when he grew tense around mentions of Claire. And yet, I remained hopeful. I believed that love, patience, and consistencies could bridge these gaps. I thought, perhaps naively, that being present, being kind, being steady, was enough to earn trust and affection. The early days of our life together were deceptively calm. Morning breakfasts were warm, filled with Oliver's chatter about his imaginary worlds. Nights were quiet, with Stephen and I reviewing plans for renovations or dream vacations, our laughter threading through the house like fragile gold. Oliver often watched us from the corner of the room, wide-eyed, as if measuring whether I belonged. Then there were moments when I caught him staring at the old family photos of Claire, or glancing at the messages on Stephen's phone. My heart would twist, a quiet warning I tried to ignore. These were the cracks, subtle, almost invisible, that foreshadowed the storms I had yet to face. It was during one such evening, while tucking Oliver into bed, that I realized just how fragile our carefully constructed family really was. He clutched his blanket tightly and whispered, "Mom, do you think he'll like me? Really like me?" His question wasn't about a friend or a teacher. It was about me, about whether I was enough. I held his small hands in mine, forcing a reassuring smile. "You're my world, Oliver, always." But even as I said it, a cold pang of doubt settled in my chest, because loving a child isn't always about being enough. Sometimes it's about surviving the interference of others who claim to care, yet sow confusion and pain. And that interference was coming, sooner than I could imagine. The next months would be filled with milestones, celebrations, and the subtle hints of a storm gathering on the horizon. Birthday parties, school recitals, and ordinary days alike would test the boundaries of trust, love, and patience. My hopefulness, my carefully measured optimism, would soon collide with the messy reality of past relationships, entitlement, and the chaos that often follows in the wake of family ties stretched too thin. For now, though, we were a family. Fragmented, tentative, but ours. And I, Delilah Warren, was ready to fight for that. Oliver's birthday was approaching. His 18th, the milestone that every teenager seems to envision as the pinnacle of cool, Instagram-worthy glory. I wanted everything to be perfect. Every table, every light, every little detail had to reflect the love and care I had poured into raising him, the sense of stability I had tried so hard to create. I spent weeks planning the party, selecting the venue, coordinating the menu, and making sure Oliver would feel celebrated and important. The theme was sleek, elegant, yet youthful, a subtle blend of sophistication and fun that reflected Oliver's personality. I even splurged on a tailored black suit for him, the kind that made him look confident, almost like a miniature businessman stepping into the adult world. The day arrived, and I felt a familiar thrill in seeing everything come together. The venue glowed under warm golden lights, the tables were arranged just so, and the food glistened like jewels under the chandeliers. Oliver's excitement was palpable. He practically danced from corner to corner, snapping photos, checking angles, and texting friends with the glee only a teenager can possess. Then, as if timed by fate itself, Claire arrived. I recognized her immediately. She walked in like she owned the room, the kind of presence that demanded attention even before she opened her mouth. Her smile was sharp, rehearsed, the kind of smile that hides mischief. She was dressed for effect, her designer heels clicking against the polished floors, eyes scanning, calculating. And then I saw it. The subtle sway of her stance, the faint glassiness in her eyes. She was drunk. Oliver's face froze, a flicker of panic in his eyes. He glanced at me, silently pleading. I swallowed a tightening knot in my stomach and forced myself to stay calm. This is his night. I cannot let her ruin it. Claire, I said evenly, stepping forward, you're welcome to join us, but please, for Oliver's sake, try to keep things calm. She tilted her head, eyes narrowing. Oh, Delilah, she purred, voice dripping with fake sweetness. I wouldn't dream of spoiling anything. I just wanted to see my little family. Her gaze flicked toward Oliver, who shrank slightly, caught between excitement and embarrassment. Minutes later, the chaos began. Claire's tone sharpened as she loudly criticized decorations, commented on the food, and made pointed remarks about Oliver's choices, every word calculated to unsettle. Guests whispered, their curiosity mounting. Oliver's friends exchanged confused glances, unsure whether to laugh, look away, or intervene. I felt my hands clench, my heart pounding. Mom, can we just start the music? Oliver muttered under his breath, cheeks red. I nodded, squeezing his hand. Soon, sweetheart, just breathe. But Claire wasn't done. Her sharp voice cut through the party's soft jazz like a knife. Oh, really? You went with these candles? How quaint, she said, flicking her wrist toward the birthday setup. My jaw tightened. I wanted to yell, to shove her out, but I held my tongue. Patience. Protect Oliver. Calm. When she finally stumbled toward the main table, knocking a small plate onto the floor, the room went silent. Glass shattered. Drinks tipped over. Sophisticated appetizers splattered across pristine tablecloths. I caught Oliver's horrified gaze. He looked like a small child again, powerless in the middle of an adult storm. I stepped forward, voice steady but firm. Claire, that's enough. Please sit down or I'll have to ask security to escort you out. Her eyes flashed with anger, a dangerous spark. Oh, Delilah, she hissed. Trying to play the hero, are we? Do you really think you can replace me? Replace me with your money? Your perfect little life? You can't buy family. You can't buy love. I didn't flinch. My heart was racing, but my voice was measured. This is Oliver's night. You are here to celebrate him, not create chaos. Sit down or leave. The bar staff hovered, ready. I saw the tension mount among the guests. Some whispered, others stared, but I forced my gaze to Oliver. I could not let him see me falter. I would be his anchor tonight, come hell or high water. Claire's lips twisted in contempt, but before she could strike again, the staff gently guided her toward the exit. She protested, screaming, lashing out with insults, but the door closed behind her. Silence fell, broken only by murmurs and the clinking of leftover glasses. Oliver slumped in his chair, shoulders tight, face pale. Mom, it's ruined, he whispered, voice barely audible. I sat beside him, brushing back a strand of hair. No, Oliver, it's your night. This is just a hiccup. Let's make the rest of it amazing, okay? He nodded, but I could see the vulnerability in his eyes. The Instagram-perfect birthday he had dreamed of was now a memory of chaos. I felt my chest tighten, not just for him, but for the storm I knew had only just begun. As the party continued, I stayed close to Oliver, guiding him, shielding him, absorbing the tension so he wouldn't have to. I knew that beyond the shattered appetizers and whispers, a deeper conflict was lurking, one that would test my patience, my love, and my resilience as a stepmother in ways I could not yet imagine. The day after the birthday disaster, the house felt different, quieter, colder, like it had absorbed all the chaos and was holding it in reserve. Oliver moved through the rooms like a ghost, barely speaking, barely meeting my eyes. My heart ached every time I tried to engage him. "Oliver, breakfast," I said softly, placing a plate of pancakes on the table. He didn't look up. He didn't touch the food. His tiny hands fiddled with the fork as though it were a foreign object. "Mom, I'm fine," he muttered, voice tight, eyes downcast. I knelt beside him, my hands brushing over his small ones. "Sweetheart, it's okay to talk about what happened yesterday. I know it was hard." He flinched at my words, as if I had pierced some invisible wall. "It's nothing," he mumbled, barely audible. Days passed like this. Oliver's energy, normally boundless, lively, was gone. He became distant, snappy at small things, quick to retreat into his room. Every attempt I made to talk to him was met with cold deflection. Even Stephen, who had always been patient and calm, seemed at a loss. One evening, after another long day of silent meals and tense glances, I confronted Stephen in the living room. "We can't keep ignoring this," I said, voice low but firm. "He's shutting down. He's blaming me for everything. We need to do something before this gets worse." Stephen rubbed his forehead, a weariness in his eyes I hadn't seen before. "I know," he admitted. I just don't want to make him angrier. I've tried talking to him, Delilah, but he won't listen. And Claire, she makes it worse. She's still in his head somehow." I let out a bitter laugh, pacing. "She's in his head because we let her be, because we've been walking on eggshells, afraid of rocking the boat. He's 5 years old. Oliver is not 5, but he's still a kid. He needs boundaries. He needs someone to protect him, not excuses." Stephen looked at me, conflicted. "I'm trying, but I can't control everything. He loves her too. He remembers her." I shook my head, frustrated. "We're the adults here, Stephen. We need to lead. We can't let him dictate the rules or let Claire's influence linger like this. He's pulling away from me, and it's breaking my heart." Oliver's withdrawal wasn't just emotional. It was physical. He refused to participate in activities he had once loved. He stopped attending soccer practice, barely touched his school projects, and avoided family dinners. Each day, I felt the gap between us widen, a chasm that threatened to swallow all the love and effort I had poured into him. Then there were the moments when he talked to Stephen instead of me, as though I weren't even present. Small things. "Dad, can you pass the butter?" said with such casual disregard for my existence that it cut deeper than any shouting match could. His tiny gestures were full of unspoken resentment, each one a reminder that my position in this family was precarious. I realized that my hopefulness, my patience, my attempts to be the perfect stepmother were being weaponized against me. The silence, the withdrawal, the subtle slights. All of it was a form of rebellion that I couldn't simply argue away. And Stephen, caught between his son and me, hesitated too long, unable to assert his authority in a way that might protect me or our bond. One night, after tucking Oliver into bed, I sat on the edge of his small mattress, staring at the ceiling. "I'm here for you," I whispered. "I'm not going anywhere, but I can't do this alone. You have to let me in." He didn't answer. He just turned over, pulling his blanket tight, shutting me out completely. I stayed there, watching him, feeling the weight of exhaustion settle over me. 5 years I had spent trying to be the perfect stepmother, always careful, always measured, always gentle. And now all of that patience seemed to have failed. I knew the storm was coming, the real confrontation that would test everything. My patience, my love, my limits. The perfect illusion of family life was cracking, and I had no choice but to brace for the fallout. Something deep inside me shifted that night. I could no longer remain passive. I had to stand firm, no matter how difficult it would be, no matter how Oliver reacted. Because loving a child doesn't always mean being liked. Sometimes it means surviving the chaos, holding the line, and being the adult who refuses to bend under manipulation. The coming days would reveal truths I had long suspected but had hoped to avoid. about Oliver's attachments, about Claire's lingering influence, and about the fragile dynamics of our blended family. And I was ready. It was Oliver's graduation week. Cap and gown, photos, proud smiles. Everything was supposed to be perfect. But beneath the surface, the storm I had been sensing for months was ready to break. We had hosted a small celebratory dinner at home afterward, with close family and friends. I had prepared all of Oliver's favorite dishes: truffle fries, steak sliders, miniature crab cakes, even the extravagant 3-tier chocolate cake he loved, hoping the celebration might mend the fragile tension that had been building. For a few hours, laughter filled the house, and Oliver's smile seemed genuine. I dared to breathe easier, imagining maybe, just maybe, things were turning a corner. Then his phone rang. He stepped into the hallway to answer, and when he returned, everything shifted. His posture stiffened, his jaw set, and there was a quiet, hard resolve in his eyes I hadn't seen before. "Mom," he said, voice low but firm, "my dad, he wants to come over. He wants to talk about college." My stomach dropped. Memories of his 18th birthday, of Claire's drunken chaos, of whispered insults and public shaming all surged forward. "Absolutely not," I said immediately. "Think about what happened, Oliver. The birthday party. How he arrived drunk, caused a scene, humiliated you and the guests. That is not someone who should be involved in this discussion right now." He cut me off, voice rising. "That wouldn't have happened if you'd just stepped aside. He's my real dad. You should have let him sit down." My chest tightened. All of the days of silence, the cold shoulder, the subtle contempt I had been enduring from him, it all poured into one sharp, aching realization. He had been blaming me for everything. All this time, after days of withdrawal and icy stares, he thought I was the one at fault. I turned to Stephen, silently pleading. For once I needed him to intervene, to stand up for me. But he stayed frozen, hands in his lap, silent as always. "Oliver," I said, steadying my voice, "listen to me. That night at your birthday, that was your father's choice, not mine. He brought chaos and embarrassment into our home. I set up everything for you. I wanted it to be perfect. And you know what? I did everything I could for you." His face turned red, anger flashing like lightning. "Oh, here we go again," he shouted, voice echoing off the walls. "It's always about money with you, isn't it? I paid for nothing, you bought everything, and you think that gives you control? My real dad will be here soon, and at least he's normal." The room fell silent. Friends and family, who had remained for the post-graduation celebration, shifted uncomfortably. All I could do was stand there, absorbing the torrent of blame, insults, and hurtful words. I felt something snap inside me. 5 years of patience, 5 years of trying to do everything right, 5 years of swallowing frustration. It all came pouring out. "Oliver," I said, voice clear and firm, "you are my son, and I love you. But you are not seeing the truth. That was your father's choice. He showed up drunk, publicly humiliated you, destroyed property, and did he even bring a gift? No. I did everything I could to celebrate you, to protect you, to give you the life you deserve, and now you're turning that on me." He spun toward the guests, shouting, flinging his hands, tears starting to gather. "You're not my mom. You're not anyone. You're just some person in my life taking up space. My mom, my real mom, wouldn't have done this." The room went dead silent. I could feel the weight of everyone's eyes on me, but I refused to shrink. I straightened my back, heart pounding, and held my ground. "Yes, I am some person," I said, voice calm and cold. "But I am your mother, Oliver. I have given you everything I can, and I will not let anyone, not you, not Claire, not anyone, manipulate me or make me feel small in my own home. You want your father to pay for college? Fine. That is between you and him. This nobody's wallet is closed." He froze, face a mix of shock and anger. You can't do that. You're evil." I let him stand there, letting the truth of my words sink in. His tears were real this time, not calculated, and for the first time I felt a strange clarity. I would not be bullied, manipulated, or silenced. Stephen finally spoke softly. "Delilah, maybe we should calm down." "No," I interrupted, voice unwavering. "We will not calm down. This is the moment he learns that love cannot be bought, that respect must be earned, and it will not come from fear, manipulation, or threats. It comes from care, consistency, and honesty. I have given all I can. Now it is time he faces the consequences of his choices. Oliver turned, storms in his eyes, and ran from the room. I let him go, feeling both heartbreak and relief. The storm had broken. The truth was out. And for the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe in my own home again. The coming days would be tense, filled with messages, arguments, and negotiations. But I knew one thing. I had reclaimed my voice, my boundaries, and my place as the mother and protector of my family. And nothing, not even Claire's lingering shadow, could take that away. The days following Oliver's outburst were tense and quiet. Claire's presence had vanished, but the damage lingered like a shadow. Messages from her and fleeting social media posts reminded me that manipulation never truly disappears at once. Oliver, too, remained distant, his anger and hurt simmering just below the surface. I focused on what I could control: my home, my boundaries, and my love for him. I spent mornings preparing breakfast quietly, evenings helping with college applications, and afternoons simply being present without pushing or demanding. I refused to be manipulated by guilt or by fear. Then came the turning point. One evening, Oliver approached me in the living room, hesitant but resolute. His hands were tucked into his pockets, his eyes downcast but determined. "Mom, I've been thinking," he began quietly. I overreacted. I said things I didn't mean. About college, about everything." I felt my chest tighten, holding back a mix of relief and lingering pain. "Oliver," I said gently, "I know it's been hard. I know you feel conflicted, but you need to understand. I did everything for you because I love you. Everything else, arguments, messes, chaos, that's not what love looks like." He nodded, swallowing hard. "I get that now. I just didn't know how to deal with Claire, and I didn't know how to deal with my dad. I thought blaming you would fix it." I took his hand, squeezing it firmly. "Blaming me never fixes anything, Oliver. It only pushes people away. You can't control what other people do, but you can control how you respond. That's what being grown up means. That's what I want for you." Over the next few weeks, the healing began slowly. Oliver started opening up, sharing small moments from school, talking about his friends, laughing at silly jokes again. He even started helping around the house, small gestures that showed he was reconnecting, trusting me again. Claire tried reaching out once, sending a text that I never replied to. Her influence was gone, finally replaced by patience, honesty, and boundaries. Stephen and I grew closer, supporting each other through the tension, reinforcing the family unit we had fought to protect. Then, one bright morning, Oliver came running into the kitchen, eyes sparkling. "Mom, I got accepted to the college I wanted, the one I worked so hard for." My heart leapt. "That's amazing, Oliver," I said, pulling him into a hug. "I'm so proud of you." He grinned, looking up at me with genuine affection. And I realized something. I don't need anyone else to make me feel strong or important. I have you, I have Dad, and I love you guys. I felt tears well up, but this time they were tears of joy, relief, and victory. Love had survived the chaos. Respect had been restored. The storm had passed, leaving a family stronger than before. From that day on, life regained its rhythm. The house felt warm again, filled with laughter, conversation, and occasional mischief. Oliver thrived, building friendships, pursuing his goals, and learning the value of trust and boundaries. As for Claire, she faded into a distant memory, a reminder of the chaos that had tested our family but ultimately could not destroy it. Stephen and I focused on building our future, raising Oliver with patience, love, and resilience. I realized that being a parent isn't about perfection or avoiding conflict. It's about standing firm when storms arrive, loving fiercely even when misunderstood, and never allowing manipulation or fear to dictate the life you create for your family. We had survived the worst. We had reclaimed our home, our peace, and our love. And for the first time in years, I felt truly free.